Hot mocha with oat milk, little dash of lavender. My husband Jim used to drive 40 minutes to bring me my favorite blend. I didn't know when he was coming, so when he showed up, my whole being would light up with joy. It wasn't about the coffee. October 13th, 2021, my husband Jim passed away from ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. My life was leveled. 3 months later, my mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer. I had been an internationally exhibiting artist, a university professor for 16 years. I'd owned 2 successful creative businesses. I was proud and known for my ability to create meaning. Yet at that time, I couldn't access it. We've all inherited beliefs, expectations, and ways of doing things. And we've learned how to be successful inside of them. Eventually, those familiar structures no longer grow with us. They get smaller or just stop working. And when that happens, you start replaying conversations, choices you can't undo. Small things suddenly feel enormous. Sleep becomes strategy, and control becomes survival. And then one day, you find yourself sitting on a dirty grocery store floor, your body trembling, your panic rising, your breath coming out in heaving gasps. Maybe it was the absurdity of me trying to strangle a bag of sweet potato fries, but I realized something. My life didn't need fixed, and my creativity wasn't gone. I had been amazingly creative. It was just rippling outward into my life without my direction. The creative process isn't something that we turn on and off. It is always running in the background. The trouble starts when we fixate so much on controlling what's next that we forget to be present to what's happening now. That's when creativity starts running us instead of us running it. I'm not talking about painting or poetry. Creativity is the energy, play, curiosity, imagination. The creative process is the framework that energy moves through. Unconsciously, it can shrink us into cycles of fear and reactivity. Consciously, it can expand us into limitless possibilities. The difference is our awareness, our creative intelligence. I'd spent a lifetime teaching the creative process to make, innovate, and perform, but I never truly addressed how to unleash it to shape my life. The creative process is our most powerful way of engaging with uncertainty because at its essence, it's the only process designed to move through what can't yet be known. I didn't just rebuild my life. I reverse engineered the creative intelligence operating system, a framework of 9 actionable steps, an infrastructure built on something that can't be automated, copied, or outsourced. Being creatively human. When Jim passed and things were really rough, my imagination became a portal, a turning point. First, I paused, not to avoid the grief, but to make space for something else to exist alongside it. I could think of his lopsided smile and my coffee. And I could call up the emotions that I felt when he arrived, a warm drink in hand. That moment, creative perception turned grief into joy. Next, I experimented. What if I could shift my feelings just by focusing on the emotion? Over time, I embodied it, noticing emotions as cues to recall when needed or as signals to pause. That's the beauty of the creative process. It doesn't just change emotions or perceptions, it alters your body, rewires your neural pathways, and reshapes your environments. When my mother was dying, creativity expanded, this time allowing for laughter and silly selfies in a time of fear. There she was, a tiny scrap of a woman, fear suffocating us, until I snuck her a Wendy's Frosty and her 70-pound dog, Rena. Instead of bowing to the predictability of the situation, my creative intelligence operating system invited curiosity and adaptation. This isn't just internal, it's relational and environmental. We don't just hold space for people, we create it. I once worked with a CEO who couldn't understand why his people wouldn't open up. He kept saying, "You can come to me with anything." But what had he created that made them feel safe enough to do that? They didn't know him yet. They hadn't watched him grow or make mistakes. They had no shared history. He wanted connection without creating the conditions for it. After using the creative intelligence operating system, his goal changed. He no longer wanted to be the perfect boss. He focused on creating the environment where both him and his team could show up differently. He didn't demand transformation, he designed it. Creative authorship creates what's needed. We live it across every area of life: physical, mental, emotional, relational, spiritual. Look at Henry Ford, Steve Jobs, and Marie Curie. Their creative authorship gave us the assembly line, iPhone, and breakthroughs in science that have reshaped how we live. They didn't know the outcome when they started. They just said, create it, play, learn, fail, and experiment until it does. Life is not complex, it's accumulated. And when it gets hard, you can fall back on the process, because creativity is available to you, through you, and collectively. Instead of meeting change or conflict as threats, we can engage them as materials we can shape. When we choose curiosity over control, when we slow down enough to perceive from different points of views, creativity becomes a stabilizing voice that connects rather than divides. November 2014, when a Nazi group marched through the streets of a small town in Germany, collective creativity allowed the citizens to meet hate without retaliation. Instead, they sponsored each step, ultimately raising 11,000 euros to help people leave extremist groups. The marchers were still given the freedom to march, just with the new knowledge that each step was detrimental to their cause. That's the power of collective creativity. It doesn't deny reality, it transforms it. The unknown isn't a void, it's a creative field. Humanity is incredible for how expansively we create. It starts with one person, extends to those nearest, and transforms entire communities. When my husband, Jim, passed, I thought joy was gone, but it had always been with me. He just created the space for it to come forward. We're never truly lost. We just learn how to shape what's now into what's next. When you understand the process, you're never at the end of the route. You just create your own direction. Creativity is our human operating system. Unconsciously, it runs us by default. With awareness, it becomes the launch pad to who we want to be. So the question isn't, are you creative? The question is, are you ready to activate how you use your creativity daily? Maybe the world needs your version of a 40-minute coffee drive. The creative gesture that becomes presence, care, and possibility. Because that's how we gift the world forward.